Welcome to Swag, some wisdom and gear from college admission leaders. Today we are joined by Whitney Soule, Vice Provost and Dean of Admissions at University of Pennsylvania. Welcome, Whitney.
Hello.
I want to start by giving you an opportunity to give your elevator pitch. So kind of what should we know about the University of Pennsylvania and why should students consider it?
All right, I would love to give an elevator pitch. First of all, University of Pennsylvania was the very first university in the United States. I don't know if you know that, but our founder is Ben Franklin, and he founded the first university, which is the University of Pennsylvania. So that's pretty cool. And over time, it has grown into a huge university with many different schools. But what's really important for this is there are 4 undergraduate schools at Penn. There is the College of Arts and Science, which is a traditional liberal arts curriculum. It's the largest of the 4 undergraduate schools at Penn. We also have nursing, we have engineering, and we have the Wharton School, which is our business school. So our first year class is about 2,400 students, and within those 2,400 students, they are in one of those 4 schools. As a student in any one of those schools, you can take classes that are listed in the other 3 schools. So our students and our undergraduate students have access to curriculum that can be in all 4 of those schools. So that's a pretty significant opportunity.
Something for everyone.
Something for everyone.
Thank you. Well, let's jump right into kind of a lightning round of questions. And I want to start with one unique program offered at Penn.
Well, it's kind of a trick question because I can't answer with one, but I'm going to answer with one genre of program that I think is unique at Penn. So as I mentioned, there are 4 schools. And when students apply to Penn, they apply to one of the 4 schools. But students can also apply to what's called the coordinated degree program. So it might be that they're applying to a program in which they're earning degrees from both Wharton and engineering, let's say, at the same time. And so to be able to apply as an undergraduate to a coordinated dual degree, like I said, it's getting a degree from 2 different schools at once. It is a very organized curriculum. It's very directed on how a student moves through because it's a lot of coursework. But it's also integrated, and it's one of the best conceptions and sort of deliveries of interdisciplinary work that I can think of at a really, really high level. So I would encourage students who are curious about that. This is different than having an interdisciplinary major. This is really talking about interdisciplinary work for 2 different degrees earned at the same time at the University of Pennsylvania. And so I would encourage students to look into the coordinated dual degree program if that sounds interesting. They can find all of that on our website.
That's cool. I want to meet the student who coordinates between nursing, engineering, and business. A 3 degree program.
That would be a lot of coursework. Yeah, that would be a lot.
So let's what's one fun tradition at Penn?
There are many. But one of the ones that I find fascinating is toast throwing at the football game on homecoming weekend. I know, it's throwing toast.
At people?
No, onto the football field.
Okay.
Happens at 3rd quarter, the break at 3rd quarter. And historically, this is in response to a line in a Penn song about raise a toast to dear old Penn, which then turned into literally toast. And then there's this tradition of tossing a piece of toast onto football field. So it's a little wacky, but it generates a lot of excitement and enthusiasm. There have been opportunities for fundraising around this where organizations will sell you a piece of toast so that you can throw it, but the money raised goes toward hunger prevention or different charities in the West Philadelphia area. So there can be a component to it that is really generous as well as being somewhat wacky.
Sounds like it could lead to a significant pigeon problem too. Or
there is like a Zamboni kind of operation to clean it up also, which is kind of interesting. There is video of this online, not surprisingly. So If anybody wants to see what toast throwing to the Franklin Field at Penn looks like, there's evidence.
I'm on it right after this. Kind of zooming out a little, college admission in general, what's something that students should know about affordability and access in college?
That is such a great question. Affordability, I'm going to start with affordability because I think it's one of the most complex. It's one term that actually has so much embedded in it. And ultimately, affordability is, can a student afford to go to the school where they've been admitted and they want to attend? And affordability in some ways is really personal, right? Like how much am I willing to take on financially to be able to attend this school? So in one way, affordability is about that. Much more broadly, affordability is around how an institution is able to financially support the students that it is inviting to enroll, and how students understand what those resources are, how they might access them, and what that means for their experience on a campus. And a lot of this is going to depend on whether a student is living in a residential environment. And so all of their housing and meals are sort of wrapped into the cost of being at a school. And the financial aid support from that school is going toward all of those expenses. Or if they're in an institution where the expense for the school has to do with tuition and books and some fees, but they're going to need to negotiate their housing and their food on their own. All of this to say that affordability can often come together with some components, perhaps from the federal government, whether that's federal grant aid or whether that's federal loans. It can be private school loans, and very often grant money or scholarship money that is offered to a student from an institution that isn't paid back. One of the things that I would really recommend about affordability is that, as I said, this is really unique to each family and their comfort with what they might need to take on financially for a student to attend a school, that every school is required to have calculators on their website, that when you put in your own financial information, you can get an estimate. It's not perfect, but it's an estimate of what it might cost your family for the student to attend that school. And this is a really essential part of understanding enrollment beyond where can I get in. It's also where can I get in and afford to be there. And this is really a 4-year affordability question. So I really encourage students and families to think about, this is what's in front of us right now. What does this look like for 4 years? Does this kind of support remain for 4 years? Do the fees change over the course of 4 years? What does that mean for me? So I think affordability is partly the responsibility of an institution to be able to get behind the students that they're inviting into the community, and also an opportunity for families and students to investigate a little bit against their own resources.
That's a great point. That's a great point. And really understanding what they're looking at, what the numbers are. Yeah.
Right. And it's complicated. I mean, it would be great if there were a way to oversimplify it in a conversation and just say, you just need to do this, this, and this, and that's all you need to know. Right. It is complicated. It requires talking about your money if you're applying for financial aid. I mean, it means revealing things about your financial life to people you don't know so that they can evaluate it. And that's not comfortable, but it is essential. And I can tell you that the people who work in financial aid, I'm speaking for Penn, but I imagine this is true at many other places, love talking about financial aid, right? And when students come to Penn, we have a dedicated team whose primary focus is working exclusively with students who have the highest need, right? Their questions, their issues, the things that they might run into. This team of people is there for them in particular. So our financial aid counselors more broadly are there to help people figure out what this aid means, how you use it, how you think about your costs of being in school with laundry detergent and toothpaste alongside books and snacks, right?
Yeah, so use them, ask them.
That's right.
That's great. Thank you. So last question. What is the best question a student should ask on a campus tour? And what would be your answer for Penn?
Well, I think a great question is to ask a student, whether it's your tour guide or some other student that you need, it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't have to be an admission representative, but ask a student at the school if they're doing anything or experiencing anything at that school that they wouldn't have expected of themselves before they got there? And I ask that question a lot. It's one of the ways I've gotten to know Penn students, is by asking that question. But it's a good question anywhere, because you really want to hear students tell you that they're trying something, have been exposed to something, thinking about something that they wouldn't have thought of before they were in that environment. And how students describe it and the enthusiasm they attach to explaining what they're doing, I think can be really, really good insight into learning at school.
Yeah, I love that question. Thanks. All right, that's the wisdom. Now it's time for the gear.
The gear.
We are going to reach into the swag bag and see what you have for us. Oh, look at this. The Penn blanket.
I'm not going to lie, it was hard to send that off, because that is a plush snuggly blanket.
It is indeed, and it's seems like maybe a toast guard, right?
Could be. Yeah.
And let's see what else. Penn chocolates. This might not make it past my
I understand.
my here. Well, thank you so much. Penn is going to donate this swag to an organization promoting equity and access, and I promise the chocolates will be there when we donate it. Hey, Whitney, thank you so much for the wisdom and for the gear, and we will see you next time on the College Guidance Network.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.